and go from there. So, Shadow Reflection paired with Vendetta, paired with Trinket. Pretty straightforward. Now, the way Shadow Reflection works, which we've talked about, there is kind of a certain rotation that you're going to want to do, which is what we talked about earlier. So, we're talking about rotation. The way I do it is I get 5 combo points, and I pull energy. And the reason I pull energy is because I want to cast as many abilities as I can within that 8-second window, right? Because you want your Shadow Reflection to do as much damage as possible. So, in that 8-second window, an ability you do not want to cast is Rupture. So prior to using your Shadow Reflection cooldown, you want to make sure your Rupture is up for at least 10 seconds or so, just so you don't have to deal with it. You don't want to cast it again because it's not worth casting it for the Shadow Reflection. You can get more damage out of another ability like Mutilate or Envenom. Alright, so my typical rotation with Shadow Reflection is pull energy. You never want to cap your energy. The most you want to sit at is about 80%. So with Slice Commander, I don't know if you saw, I'll bring it up again. I have this little hash mark. That's my 80% mark. So I know that's kind of where I want to make my decisions at, is that hash mark. So you'll kind of pull, and then what you'll do is you'll cast it. You'll cast your, your macro. And you have 5 CP. So you would just want to do an Envenom, spam your Mutilate up to 5 CP. And you just kind of do your regular rotation. Get as many abilities into that Envenom as you can, but you don't want to be running Rupture. You just want to get as many Mutilates, Dispatches in as you can, and that's how you're gonna pull the most damage. Is just doing your normal rotation during that 8-second window. So really, when you think about it, you're gonna cast it. You're gonna have probably about 6 seconds to kind of get your rotation down, which is usually enough to pop off 2 or 3 Mutilates, a couple procs, maybe another Envenom if your buff is about to fall off. So yeah, it's gonna be about 2 Envenoms and 3 to 4 Mutilate blindsides in that 8-second window to optimize the damage. And the last cooldown that we really have to talk about is Vanish, and we kind of already talked about that. It's just your 1-minute cooldown. You're going to use it on cooldown, and you're going to break it with Mutilate. That's the only rule for that. It is smart to think about the fact that your Mutilate out of Vanish is pretty much free, so maybe you can time it with being energy starved. So if you have 4 CP and you're a little energy starved, your Envenom is about to run out, or it is out, you can maybe use that Vanish to quickly get your CP up to 5 without killing yourself in the pooling. So if you're pooling, you're not really doing as much damage as you could. So if you can reduce that pooling time, that's a good thing. I'm just going to briefly go over AoE because honestly it's a joke to talk about as Assassination. AoE is pitiful as Assassination. Really, really terrible. When we're talking about sustained AoE, there's 2 different kinds of AoE for really anybody. There's sustained and there's burst. For sustained, you're just going to use Fan of Knives, just spam Fan of Knives, and rupture as many targets as possible. That's it. Just tab rupture, tab rupture, tab rupture. Just do that the whole fight. That's it. For burst AoE, it's a little different. I'm not a huge fan. I don't think it's really efficient or worth it, but here it is. You use Fan of Knives as your CP builder. You pull energy to about 80-85%. Use a 5 combo point Crimson Tempest. Pull energy. Use a 5 combo point Envenom, and then just spam Fan of Knives and rinse repeat that. And essentially that just It technically optimizes burst damage, but it's a lot of work for little reward. Take my advice, learn combat, use combat for trash, and add heavy fights. That's really it. That's my only recommendation when it comes to that. It's pretty hefty amount of work for low reward. So the lesson of the day for that is don't AoE as Assassination, because it's garbage. Okay, so the last thing I have to go over is just some general rogue tips. Go over that real quick. Alright, so when it comes to rogues, we have some utilities, right? So we are a strict DPS class. However, we have some utilities that we can use that help the raid out a good bit. When we're talking about glyphs, we talked about Cloak of Shadows. So Cloak of Shadows essentially allows us to so I'm gonna pull it up real quick. So I'll show you in the stream here. When we're talking about Cloak of Shadows, it's gonna remove essentially everything. I think the only thing it doesn't remove is like, I don't even remember, bleeds, maybe bleeds. I'm a dwarf, so I have stone form, kind of negates that fact, but dwarves for life, by the way. So really, Cloak of Shadows is going to be something that you're going to be using often, but you want to use it intelligently as well. So for instance, stacks that you can cloak off. Maybe you don't want to use your cloak at 1 stack. Maybe you want to use your cloak at 3 stacks. Because the damage is considerably more at 3 stacks, so really you're spending less time taking a lot of damage, and just the normal time taking the 1 and 2 stacks, so you're helping out your healers a lot, and you're ultimately making it so that you're alive longer, which is the goal, right? So in the resources section of the guide here that I'm going to be posting, there's an article on MMO Champion that kind of goes over every single boss fight this tier, and it goes over the rogue abilities that are useful for each fight. For instance, fights that you can use Cloak on to avoid damage or remove stacks or whatever the case might be. So that's something that you really should keep in mind. Being familiar with the encounters and going from there. When it comes to Feint, Feint is one that you're going to use pretty often. It's a DPS loss, right? Because whenever you're using Feint, you're using energy on an ability that doesn't do damage. However, this is the whole play defensively deal, right? So it's a mitigation ability that reduces the amount of AoE damage that you take. It doesn't work for every mechanic, but it works for a lot of mechanics. So it's really the type of thing where if you see you're taking a lot of damage, then maybe you preemptively cast Feint. That way you're taking less damage when that AoE goes out. Just another smart defensive ability that you can use to help out your healers. Smoke Bomb. So Smoke Bomb used to be really great. Used to be 20%. Now Smoke Bomb reduces damage to everyone within 8 yards of you by 10% for 5 seconds. So this is another one of those preemptive abilities, so right when they're about to cast something, you just drop down Smoke Bomb, and 10% less damage to everyone that's stacked. A fight that pops into mind is Butcher. What I've done with that is I've put a rogue in each group, so there's typically 2 melee groups, just as an example. And you can kind of pop Smoke Bomb when you get to 3 stacks. We talked about Shadow Step. That was intended to use maximizing DPS uptime. Again, just be careful with positioning and threat. And my last tip is be patient. A lot of people like to just spam abilities. It's like how you used to play combat, right? Is you just spam abilities. But as I showed you here, the Assassination Rogue is more about timing. It's really important. Learning how to play with the Envenom buff and understanding how that works. Be patient. just understand how it works, understand how to maximize your damage, and you can go from it, kind of go about it that way. So let me show you a rotation. We're going to go deadly, and we're going to go crippling. And Tumna did just bring up something pretty important here. So if we look at my action bars, let me pop back to the other view here. Okay, so we look at my action bars, right? We've got everything here. I've got drums in case there's no hero. I've got my Drainic Agility Potion. We've also got these healing tonics. So healing tonics are the new first aid, right? They're new potions. However, they heal for 71,000 health, which is considered, I think it's like 20,000 more than a health stone. So those poor warlocks are pretty much useless when it comes to health stones. Don't use them. Come to the raid prepared with healing tonics. I don't think they're that expensive. And they heal for a considerable amount more. They share the same cooldown. So that's definitely something to just keep in mind there. Every little bit helps with your healers, so anything you can do to help is definitely something you should be doing, especially if it's something as trivial as bringing a healing pot. Okay, so let's just jump into this rotation. I'm just going to show you one kind of quick example, and then after this I'm just going to take some questions. I'm going to actually put a link to this in chat. Okay, in Twitch chat, I did just put an example. I put a link to the documentation for the Bootcamp guide that I've written up. And I'll also put that in the YouTube video, and then if you want to toss me a tell later in game, I'd be more than happy to shoot you a link to that as well. Alright, so let's look at this this rotation. I'm just gonna go through it, and after I go through it, we'll take some questions and go from there. But this is how I play a rogue. This is my typical rotation. Alright, here we go. Okay. So you can see how anytime the Envenom buff is up, I'm casting something. And I'm pulling to the point where I'm not wasting any time. I'm utilizing the Envenom uptime, and Rupture never falls off. That's pretty much it. You have preparation as well, so again, just burn that on cooldown. It's 5 minutes, so you're really only going to use it once a fight. It just gives you an extra vanish, so that's kind of the type of thing where you're just going to use it once, usually at the beginning of the fight, and that's about it. So, and we saw kind of through the UI. My UI is pretty straightforward, right? You see my combo points, my energy here. You got the in-game visual procs for things like Blindside. And then you've got your ability timers down here. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's straightforward. I definitely recommend a UI similar to mine. I mean, I know not everyone likes custom UIs, but again, if you can keep your eyes kind of focused on the middle of the screen as much as possible, that's definitely something that, you know, you want to do whenever possible. Less eye roaming is good. Alright, well, I think I've covered everything that I kind of wanted to go through. If you take anything from this bootcamp, just understand the importance of that Envenom buff. Because when you're playing Assassination, that is Assassination. That Envenom buff is the way, it is the key factor to playing Assassination, and I feel like a lot of people overlook the importance of it. It is the single most important thing about our spec. So if you're going to take away one thing, take away the timing for Envenom and how to handle that, and just go start hitting a training dummy. Not this one, because it one-shots you, which I did earlier today. That was fun. Just start practicing. Like, start timing them. Start understanding your rupture regeneration. So if you have 2 adds up, just practice with these guys. You know, get 5 CP on here. Toss a rupture up. Get 5 CP, toss a rupture up on this guy. The more ruptures you have up, the more energy you're going to be gaining. You know, you can just you gain your energy every time rupture ticks from a poison target. So, you know, you maybe regenerate, you refresh your deadly poison with a quick fan of knives on all your targets. That's just a strategy that you can use. And that's just the type of thing that you kind of pick up as you go on, and as you become more comfortable with the spec, maybe you start trying new things and understanding how you can kind of utilize the environment and how things are being tanked to bring in more DPS for you. But I think that's all I have. Again, I'll be putting this on YouTube, so does anyone have any questions about Assassination? Alright, well, I think if Twitch chat doesn't have any, I think that is it. Looks like we took just under an hour, so not too bad, not too much time. And again, if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to just reach out, whether you send me a message in game or on Twitter, or maybe reach out to the Ravenholt guys and start participating in that community. That's something that I'd highly recommend. They're a bunch of extremely smart people. Definitely a no-brainer to go and start participating in that community and help learning the more kind of advanced things about rogues, for sure. Kind of understanding the stats behind them and everything like that. So definitely give that a shot. And if there are no questions, looks like someone in raid chat just asked, or sorry, in raid chat, in Twitch chat just asked, how does Assassination Rogue compare to Subtlety? I'm Assassination now, but looking to switch. So when it comes to Assassination, Sub is going to be higher than Assassination, I believe, on both single target and multiple target. Multiple target is not anywhere near combat, but Sub is going to be the higher DPS spec. Granted, some people are more comfortable with Assassination. Me personally, I'm that way, but I am also trying to learn Sub because, as I stated earlier, if you really want to compete as a rogue, you need to know how to play at least 2 specs, whether that's Assassination and combat or Subtlety and combat. That's kind of your choice. Again, Subtlety is kind of parsing higher than Assassination at this point in time. But if you're currently comfortable with Assassination, maybe you play Assassination until you feel comfortable enough to main Sub, would be my recommendation. Alright, well, if that is it, then we can take the stream down. Again, I'll put it up on YouTube. I'll provide everyone with a link to the document here, the guide, and we'll kind of go from there. But thanks for tagging along, guys, for sure. Again, encouraging you to participate in the Ravenholt community. That's also a link in the guide that I'll be providing you all. They're a bunch of great guys. They are way smarter than I am. Really a great resource. Bunch of great people. So definitely something you should look into. But that's all I got. I'm gonna try to go jump into Heroic High Mall now and stab some things, get some loot, go from there. But that's about it. I will definitely catch you guys all in game and on Twitter. And thanks to Tumna for being a mod and helping out provide feedback for the guide, for sure. Much appreciated. As always, from the Alone crew. So that's it for now. Thanks for coming, guys.